Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm just going to get right into today's message, okay? One of the hardest things to admit is that sometimes we don't lose our peace all at once. Sometimes we give it away slowly, little by little, moment by moment, excuse by excuse. Not because we're weak and not because we don't know any better, but because something in us really wants the connection to work. And I think that's what makes this so hard. Because when you care, when you're attached, and when you've invested your heart, your hope, your energy into something, it's not easy to be honest about what it's costing you. Sometimes you keep showing up to things that keep draining you. Sometimes you keep explaining away what keeps disturbing you. Sometimes you keep telling yourself to be more patient, more understanding, more flexible, and more forgiving. And all the while, your peace is leaving. Not loudly either. Sometimes it leaves quietly. You feel it in your body and in your thoughts. You feel it when you can't relax anymore, and when your spirit feels heavy. When you keep trying to make sense of something that deep down already doesn't feel right. And I think a lot of people know that feeling. That feeling where part of you already knows something is off, but another part of you is still trying to save it. Still trying to be enough. Still trying to fix it. And still trying to hold it all together. And I get that, because a lot of us were not taught how to choose peace without feeling guilty. A lot of us were taught to keep the peace, not protect it. And there's a difference. Keeping the peace usually means making sure nobody is uncomfortable. Protecting your peace means being honest about what your soul can no longer keep carrying. And that took me a long time to understand. But sometimes betraying your peace doesn't look dramatic. Sometimes it looks like staying silent when something hurts you. It looks like saying yes when your body wants to say no. It looks like accepting confusion because you're afraid clarity will cost you the connection. It looks like staying available to something that keeps leaving you emotionally unsettled. And after a while, that starts to do something to you. You become less grounded, less clear, and less like yourself. Not because you stopped caring, but because you cared in a way that kept requiring you to move further away from your own truth. And that's where the real loss happens. Because I don't think the deepest loss is always the connection itself. Sometimes the deepest loss is who you become while trying not to lose it. That's the part people don't talk enough about. What it feels like to keep reaching for something while slowly disconnecting from yourself. What it feels like to keep hoping while your peace keeps getting thinner. What it feels like to keep calling something you love when most of what you feel around it is anxiety, confusion, tension, or emotional exhaustion. And I'm not saying every hard connection is wrong, and I'm not saying people should run at the very first sign of discomfort. Real relationships require honesty. They require effort, and they require grace. But there is a difference between a connection asking you to grow and a connection asking you to abandon yourself. And that difference matters. If being in it costs you your voice, your clarity, your self-respect, your emotional stability, your ability to rest, your ability to feel safe inside your own spirit, then at some point you have to stop asking, how do I keep this? And you have to start asking, what is this asking me to betray? It is a hard but necessary question. Because some people stay in things not because it's good for them, but because losing it feels scarier than suffering through it. And that's real. Some people hold on because they're afraid of being alone. Some hold on because they've already invested so much into it. Sometimes they hold on because they're afraid they're attached to the potential. Because they hold on because they remember the good moments and keep hoping that those moments will become the whole story. And I understand that. But peace is a truth teller. Peace will show you what's on your mind and what you're still trying to negotiate with. And one of the most loving things that you can do for yourself is pay attention to when your peace keeps leaving. Not once, and not because you had a bad day, but because it becomes a pattern. When every interaction leaves you unsettled, when every conversation costs you hours of recovery, when your nervous system is always bracing, and when your intuition keeps whispering, this is too much, this is not right, and this is not sustainable. And that matters. And I think a part of maturity is learning that peace is not a luxury. It is not extra, and it is not something that you protect only after everyone else is comfortable. It is sacred. Your peace is sacred. And the truth is, you cannot build something truly nourishing by repeating sacrificing the very thing that keeps you whole. You can build attachment that way. You can build dependency that way. You can build confusion that way. But not peace, not alignment, and not the kind of love that actually lets you breathe. I think that's why so many people get tired in relationships and connections they keep trying to save. It's not because the situation's hard. It's because deep down they know that they're having to override themselves just to stay in it. And that becomes exhausting. And eventually, you reach a point where the real question is no longer, do I care? And the real question becomes, can I keep caring about this without disappearing from myself? And that question changes everything. It shifts the focus. It stops being only about the other person, the other situation, the outcome, the hope, and the possibility. And it becomes about truth. It becomes about whether you are still with yourself inside, what you're still trying to hold together. And if you answer no to that question, then that deserves your attention. Not your shame, but your attention. Because I don't think healing is just about becoming cold. It's not about cutting people off just to prove strength. And I don't think it's about acting like nothing matters. It's about learning how to love without making your own spirit the sacrifice. And that's a different kind of strength. The kind that says, I care deeply and still have boundaries. I can love and still tell the truth. I want connection and I still refuse confusion. I can honor what I feel without handing over my peace to keep something alive that is draining me. And that is powerful. And honestly, I think a lot more people need permission to do that. To stop believing what choosing peace means. To stop believing what choosing peace means that they failed. To stop believing that walking away from constant inner disturbance means that they didn't love enough. To stop believing that enduring emotional chaos is proof of loyalty. Because sometimes loyalty to others becomes disloyalty to yourself. And that is not noble. That is painful. So what does it look like to stop betraying your peace? Sometimes it looks like finally admitting what you've known. Sometimes it looks like no longer minimizing how something affects you. Sometimes it looks like not picking up every emotional weight that gets handed over to you. Sometimes it looks like letting silence be the information. Sometimes it looks like saying, this connection matters to me, but I cannot keep holding it at the cost of myself. And that is not selfish. That is self-respect. And self-respect is one of the deepest forms of healing there is. Because the moment you stop betraying your peace, you start rebuilding your trust within yourself. You start becoming someone your own heart can feel safe with again. Someone who listens. Someone who notices. Someone who stops making excuses when the truth has already become clear. And that changes you. You become calmer, clearer, more rooted. Not because life gets easier overnight, but because you're no longer fighting yourself in order to preserve something outside of you. And that is where freedom starts. Not always in leaving, but in finally seeing. In finally naming what something has been costing you. In refusing to keep calling survival love just because letting go feels sad. And yes, sometimes choosing peace is sad. It comes with grief, disappointment, and sometimes it comes with accepting that what you wanted is not always something that truly is. And that really hurts. But there is a clean kind of pain that comes with truth. And there is a draining kind of pain that comes with self-betrayal. And these are not the same. One pain clears you, and the other erodes you. And I think a lot of people already know which one they're living in. So if this is where you're at right now, if you're in a season where you feel torn between keeping a connection and keeping your peace, I want to say this very clearly. You are allowed to notice what something is doing to your spirit. You are allowed to take your unrest seriously. You are allowed to stop forcing yourself to stay where your peace keeps getting disturbed. You are allowed to choose what lets you breathe again. And that doesn't make you hard, that makes you honest. Not learning how to care less, but learning how to care without leaving yourself behind. Not learning how to shut down, but learning how to stay open with becoming available for everything. Not learning how to stop loving, but learning how to stop sacrificing your peace just to prove you do. And that is wisdom. That is growth. That is what it means to choose yourself in a real way. So if you keep asking, how do I keep this connection? And you start asking yourself the deeper question, what is this connection asking me to portray? And if your answer is peace, clarity, your truth, your self-respect, or your ability to feel like yourself, then maybe it's time to stop calling that love and start calling yourself back. Because peace is not too expensive. It's precious. And you are allowed to protect it. You should not have to abandon yourself just to keep a connection alive. The right things will not require you to lose your peace in order to hold on to them. So that's today's message, guys. I hope you all take something from it. This was a lesson that I've been learning for a long time. And I've learned through that lesson exactly that: self-respect, self-love, and listening to truth. And the truth is, that I come first. I matter. Not the connections that make me feel or think otherwise. All right? So take that to heart. Stay tuned for more messages. And as always, I deeply, deeply appreciate all your support. I want to thank my family, all my friends, and everybody out there that's on this journey to making themselves better. Just remember, you are worth your love. Have a great day, guys.